Hello. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Abdul Halim bin Abdul Manaf. I'm from Kelana Jaya. I'm an engineer and also a family man. Okay, quick question. Basically, I think the crisis of knowledge, we as a family man, actually a small entity, that I think that could probably help if we correct our family in terms of the bringing up of the children in order to address the bigger global thing. And through the advertisement, I should say, or by IKIM, where they mentioned that Shaykh Hamza Yusuf sort of like practice the Islamic way of life in the US through, so is it possible, maybe you can share with some of us like that we can use that module within just a small group of a family, because right now, as you mentioned, right, the children are easily influenced. I have kids, I have 5 kids, they're like Generation Y or Generation Z or something like that, where they are like mainly like tabs, notebooks, especially my daughter, 6 years old. She will, like when we come back from home, she would just grab the cell phone and just want to play with like YouTubes and all that kind of stuff, right? So kind of like since you have practiced such way where, that could possibly share that could probably help in addressing the global crisis for knowledge. I think from the root of it, starting from the bottom rather than just going to the global. That's my personal view. If Shaykh Hamza Yusuf could answer that question.
Okay, sister, please. Can you come up and say your question, please?
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muni binti Wan Muhammad Noor, and I'm a tutor from University Putra Malaysia. I also have a question for Shaykh Hamza Yusuf. It's regarding another crisis in Malaysia, with regards to the understanding and implementation of human rights. Nowadays, even though we are a majority Muslim country and we used to be conservative, there is a shift as of late, whereby we can see that even though there has been incidences of nude parties at public beaches and semi-nude photos being taken in the public streets of Malaysia, amongst the very recent examples, the society of Malaysia today are becoming more and more acceptable of these kinds of acts, saying that they're right and it doesn't harm anybody. So my question to you, Shaykh Hamza, what is your answer or suggestion to a nation such as ours, which is so obsessed with enforcing human rights, but perhaps using the wrong conception of human rights? Thank you.
Bismillah, those are both really important and interesting, and actually we really would have to be here all night to address that second one, because it's such a complicated issue. About the first one, I would say I wholeheartedly agree with you. My personal belief increasingly is that the real crisis on the planet is how we raise children, and Nietzsche, that great moral philosopher, Nietzsche said, I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, Nietzsche said that we replicate ourselves. And so the dysfunctionalities of this generation are passed on to the next generation. So the Palestinian crisis is now in its 4th iteration, and it's horrible because the sins of the fathers are passed on to the sons. So how do we break these cycles? We have to do it first and foremost individually. In my own experience, there were certain things at a certain point in my raising my children, I began to see tapes that I had from my childhood, and I realized that they really weren't the best tapes to be giving to my children. So things I heard from my parents, I found myself saying. And so breaking those things and trying to get to my parents were well-intentioned and good people and did many things right, and like myself got some things wrong. But it's very important to inculcate empathy. If I was going to say that there was one single quality that should be inculcated in a child, it's the quality of empathy. This is what makes us human. This is what makes the possibility for civilizations, is actually that we feel the pain of others. If we only feel our own pain, then we're narcissistic sociopaths. And we think that other people are simply appendages for our own existence. And I think narcissism is becoming a global problem. The selfie, to me, is the ultimate expression of narcissistic behavior. Anybody that wants to take a picture of themselves, it's like people that admire themselves in mirrors. The reason that you should look in a mirror is to see what's wrong with you. Yeah. If you're looking in the mirror to admire yourself, you're in serious trouble. And our Prophet said, Al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. The believer is a mirror of his believer. In other words, he shows him his faults, either because of exemplary character, which leads him to feel that I should be much better than I actually am because this person's so good, and they see themselves in that person, or through sincere counsel or advice, like telling them. And I know the Malay culture is a culture of politeness, but with our close friends, we have to be honest with them, because that's part of what true friendship is. It's nasiha. It's giving them good advice about things. So that's very important. In terms of the technology in the house is a major problem. I believe that the house is your Darul Islam, and that you should try to implement the hudud in your house, not the hudud of the penal code, but the tilka hudud Allah. The limits that God has set for us in our behavior, they should be implemented in our homes. And we should try to implement the compassion of the Prophet with our children. He was very compassionate with children. Anas, who was a young boy that served him, Anas said, he never once said to me in all the years I served him, if I did something wrong, why did you do that? And if I didn't do something, in other words, sins of omission and commission, he never said, why didn't you do that, or why did you do that? He was a very gentle human being, and he treated people with great gentleness. So it's important to remember that we need to inculcate prophetic character as much as possible towards our children. We need to provide alternatives for them. The beauty of children is that if you give them even the simplest things, they're content with them. So if you raise them on these toys and gadgets, you will accustomize them to things that are actually quite harmful for them. And these games are very dangerous because they create attention deficit disorder. There's PlayStation USA. There's many books that have been written on this. The Evil Eye. You can read the Scientific America's study on the addictive nature of television. Also some of the studies that have been done on the thinner corpus callosums on children that grow up with television, that it actually alters the brain. People that watch a lot of pornography, neuroplasticity now will rewire their brains. So people that are watching pornography on a regular basis they have different brains than other people, and they have obsessional thoughts, and they begin to objectify women. It creates deterioration of family. And over a long period of time, about 10 years of pornography watching leads to impotence, and this has been proven. That actually men will eventually become impotent from watching this because the arousal factor is no longer functioning anymore. So these are real problems that people aren't willing to think about or study and address. In terms of the second problem, and I'll try to be as short, even though it's a really complicated problem, the Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar is part of our tradition. But to change things physically is in the hands of the government. It's not in the hands of the people. To change things with your tongue, you can do that if you know the ruling. If you're certain that something's prohibited and you're not going to create more harm. This is a condition, that it doesn't lead to a greater tribulation. And dhann al-ifada, that you think there's benefit in it. So if there's not going to be any benefit in it, then you shouldn't do it either. I mean, there's a khilaf about that one. They say that dhann al-ifada is you can even do it if there's no benefit. But in this day and age, I would argue that it's probably better, if you don't think there's any benefit in it, just to keep your mouth shut, because we've got road rage, we've got sick people, there's a lot of mental illness, There's people on psychotropic drugs. There's all kinds of problems. So the government should do that. I think it's important that you have a'raf in your country. Modesty is one of your customs, and those things need to be encouraged in people. And I would hate to see you lose those things. And it saddens me that you're telling me these things. But this is part of the modern world. We live in a global culture. The internet has opened up Pandora's box. And so the evils of the internet have spread everywhere. But desensitization is a reality, and people do become desensitized. Madonna actually said in Advocate magazine, which is a gay magazine, in an interview that she did for that magazine, which is a homosexual magazine in the United States, she said that one of the reasons that she kisses girls in public on stage is because she wants people to get used to seeing this. They might initially be disgusted by it, but she said, but it also might excite them, and eventually they'll see it as a normal thing. So these are people that are literally, they have agendas. They're advocating social change, and it's not for traditional values. She ended one of her songs with the three of them singing at the Grammys. She ended it by saying, "We're bored of the concept of right and wrong." We're bored of the concept of right and wrong. So these people are moral relativists. They don't believe, they're actually amoral, or immoral and amoral. They don't believe in moral concepts of right and wrong. They believe in the concept of do what thou wilt. And this is one of the first teachings of the prophets. If you have no shame, do whatever you want. Our prophet said that. إِن لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. And so part of the modern culture is to remove shame or modesty from people. And our prophet said every religion has a characteristic. And the characteristic of my religion is modesty. And children are modest by nature. They're not shameless. And you're a shame-based, anthropologically, the Malay culture is traditionally a shame-based culture. So it's important that you don't lose that. Because once you lose shame, everything goes with it. Jazakumullah khairan. Please forgive me if I didn't mean to offend anybody. I'm just come here with sincere love for your people and your civilization, and I love the tolerance of the Malay people. I love the fact that the Christians feel comfortable here, the Hindus feel comfortable, the Chinese feel comfortable. This is Islam, is that other people should feel comfortable, and there are places now where these people no longer feel comfortable with Muslims, and this is a tragedy of our time, and it's shameful for the Muslims, for the people of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who taught us to show respect and give people the entitlement of human dignity. Jazakumullah khairan.